So it looks like that Lewis Hamilton will be signing an extension of his contract with Mercedes soon. It appears that the contract duration would be just for 1 year with an option to extend it for one more year. So basically a 2-year contract. Although the information about his contract will never be made official, rumors state that Lewis Hamilton will have the power to veto who his teammate would be if Mercedes were to put Max Verstappen in the second seat. Since then, Damon Hill has tweeted that he would have done the same if he was in Lewis Hamilton's shoes. Now, as someone who has followed Lewis Hamilton throughout his career and seen his metamorphosis from the youngster that beat Fernando Alonso to the fearless team leader at Mercedes that defeated the partnership of Sebastian Vettel and Ferrari in 2017 and 2018, to the mature statesman that hardly ever puts a foot wrong throughout the race weekend, it's hard for me to believe that Hamilton, of all people, would demand such a thing in his contract. I'll be honest, when the contract signing was first delayed and there were speculations around why Hamilton and Mercedes had not reached an agreement, I thought the major sticking points could be money, the contract duration, or probably a better work life balance for Hamilton. Not many would have expected Lewis Hamilton to have such demands, especially since Hamilton has been one of the few drivers to openly state that they didn't care who their teammate was. This is what makes me question whether rumors around Hamilton having a veto clause in his contract are even accurate or not. First of all, let's put down all the probable reasons why Lewis Hamilton would have demanded a veto clause in his contract. Number 1. Hamilton is scared of Max Verstappen. The very specific demand for the veto clause is to prevent Max Verstappen from being in the same car as Lewis. It's hard to dispute right now that both Hamilton and Max are amongst the best drivers on the grid right now. And maybe these are the top two drivers on the grid. Many, including Max Verstappen's father, Jos Verstappen, has openly said that he would want to see the two drivers battling in the same car. Last year, Verstappen was able to beat Hamilton on multiple occasions, even when the Mercedes car was leaps and bounds ahead of any other car on the grid. And in the last race of the season, Verstappen even showed that he could dominate a weekend if given the right car, just like Lewis Hamilton has done in the previous years. At 36 years old and nearing the end of his career, has Lewis seen the writing on the wall? Does he feel that it's evident that Max, who is still very young and improving, will surpass him very soon? Could it be a case that Hamilton doesn't think he can beat Verstappen in the same car? Now let's move on to the next reason. Number 2. Lewis Hamilton doesn't want a repeat of 2016. Now, in all honesty, the 2016 season was one of the more emotionally charged seasons for Lewis Hamilton. Nico Rosberg was able to stay consistent and close to Hamilton throughout the season and capitalized almost every time when Hamilton stumbled. To add to this, there was definite mental warfare at play as well. In the end, Rosberg was able to make up for a lack of driving ability by consistency and keeping up the pressure on Hamilton and ultimately winning the title in the last race of the season. Max Verstappen is arguably a better driver than Rosberg ever was. Is Hamilton looking to avoid a repeat of what happened with Rosberg in 2016? Because let's be honest, it surely took a toll on Lewis mentally and he didn't perform at the level he is capable of. Now let's look at the third point. At 36, Lewis Hamilton has legacy on his mind. Lewis is now 36 years old, with 7 world championships already in the bag and with the 8th one looking highly likely. He would go down as one of the greatest to have ever done it. But At the same time, when you reach such a stage in your career, your focus shifts from just race and championship wins to something bigger, your legacy. The only criticism that Hamilton has to encounter sometimes is around how much of an advantage he has enjoyed in terms of machinery throughout his career. Anyone would win in that Mercedes is a phrase that is often used, and the fact that Hamilton has Valtteri Bottas as his teammate doesn't help, because Bottas isn't highly rated around the paddock. For the bulk of his championship victories, Hamilton hasn't encountered too much of a challenge because of the superiority of his car. What if Max Verstappen would step into the Mercedes and beat Hamilton in the same car? That would do nothing but give an even bigger voice to his detractors. At the same time, it would leave a black ink on his legacy where his title wins with Mercedes could be discredited by his detractors. Does Lewis want to avoid such an eventuality where his titles are not given the credit that they duly deserve? So now that we have looked at why Lewis Hamilton might demand a veto clause in his contract, in my view, none of these arguments stand ground. Primarily because if Lewis Hamilton was scared of Max Verstappen, he would not be racing in Formula One anymore. He has achieved all that needs to be achieved. 7 world titles, most wins, most pole positions, most points, you name it, he has achieved it. There's nothing left for him to prove either, especially looking at the way he was able to win the Turkish Grand Prix last year. If there ever was any doubt at who is the best driver on the grid, Turkish Grand Prix proved Lewis Hamilton is the guy. Lewis is the best driver on the grid, and he is someone who has openly called out teams for having designated number 1 and number 2 drivers. He hasn't shown anything that would make you think that his approach or his attitude has changed. So, coming to the topic, Lewis Hamilton demanding a veto clause in his contract, in my view, are just rumors, just fiction. There is no truth behind them. So these were my views. Do share what you guys think. Do you guys think there are some facts behind this, or do you think it is entirely fiction? Do share your views in the comment section. Please like, share and subscribe. Whenever you guys do that, it provides me motivation to produce more such content. Thank you.